On the 17th of August, South Africa moved down, I suppose, to lockdown level 2, which has now created a chapter 5 to the disaster regulations. They're getting to be a very big document, but they're all set out in Paddocks Club if you want the detail. Now, I think you all know the headline items. The curfew remains from 10 in the evening to 4 in the morning each day, and there are no more restrictions on interprovincial travel. And perhaps most importantly, the sale of alcohol and tobacco the restraints on those sales have either been lifted or lightened, but no doubt you know the detail. Let's focus on community schemes. I think most importantly, many more types of gatherings are allowed under lockdown level 2. And at the granular level, anybody in any residence is entitled to have a maximum of 10 visitors. So whoever that lives there normally plus 10 more people are entitled to be there. In general terms, this means that residents can have guests for social purposes, which is quite a change after the past 5 months of more serious lockdown. But bear in mind that older people's residential facilities are still on the list in Regulation 58 of places where there is only controlled visiting. So watch out for ministerial directives in this regard, but in principle, people in retirement developments, they can go out of the scheme freely, other than, of course, for the curfew. But people can't just come in and visit them other than in accordance with ministerial directives. This doesn't mean that the trustees or the directors of the Homeowners Association suddenly have the right to enforce the disaster management regulations. They don't, of course, but they're just so as to be ready and to prepare your security and your infrastructure for the inevitable influx of visitors and relatives and this sort of thing. There's going to be much more activity. And it's probably a good time to take stock. What has the scheme done about making sanitizing fluid available, about providing masks if people need them unexpectedly? Just to have a good look at the systems and make sure that whatever regime you have looked at to keep people safe on the common or communal property, this is all working. But schemes that have slightly more sophisticated infrastructures, those that have cinemas or substantial sporting equipments, restaurants, libraries, bowling greens, golf courses, all of these will be able to operate as usual, except that there must not be more than 50 people using any particular or in any particular gathering at any given time. And certainly one must always look within a scheme to making sure that people are encouraged to socially distance and wear masks where they're not engaged in serious exercise. But one of the things that the new Table 3 to the disaster management regulations does do is it again contains the provision that all persons who are able to work from home must do so. And this, I think, is a challenge for some community schemes in that we've always tightly controlled the use of sections, and we haven't let people work there unless they're zoned for working. Whereas now we need to be more flexible in that regard because we've got a national law that tells people they've got to work at home if they possibly can. So unless there's actual nuisance, I suggest that the trustees and directors of homeowners associations and sectional title schemes should be quite flexible in that regard. You can't allow people to use their dwellings, their residences, so as to cause unnecessary nuisance, but you can allow them to work from home. Difficult times, I wish you all well.